So welcome to class again. Yes, I decided to bring forth this question, an example on factoring. There are quite a number of examples. I promise to keep bringing them, in which I will do. So there is this example I want us to solve before we go into the business of today. And the question is this: I've shared on the platform over time. So can somebody read? Let's see what we can do in relation to this question. Yes, can we read?
Paul
Anybody?
Crouch
Yeah,
Limited
okay.
makes annual credit sales of 1.5 million naira with 30 days credit terms, but its debt administration has been poor and the average collection period has been 45 days with 0.5% of sales resulting in bad debt, which are written off. A factor will take on the tax of the debt administration and credit checking at an annual fee of 2.5% of credit sales. The company would save 30,000 naira a year in administration costs. The payment period would be 30 days. The factor would also provide an advance of 80% of invoiced debt at an interest rate of 14%, 3% over the current base. The company can obtain an overdraft facility to finance its debtor at a rate of 2.5% over the base rate. Should the factor service be accepted, assume a constant monthly turnover.
All right, thank you very much for that. So this is a question that is testing our understanding. Do we accept the factor service? Over time, we've defined what factoring is. We've defined what factoring is. And we said factoring is a financial service where a business sells its accounts receivable or invoice to a third party called a factor, that is at a discount in exchange for immediate cash. You can have a middleman that will help you follow up with your debt, yes, on your behalf. And there are various services the factor can provide. The factor can provide administrative service, just administrative. The factor can do a follow-up on your debtors to see how your debt can be fast-tracked. And a factor can also provide finance to its clients to meet up with immediate cash need. So looking at this question now, that Paul Crouch Limited makes annual credit sales. Now, the total credit sales in a year is what? 1.5 with 30 days credit terms. Yes, it means after 30 days, anybody giving goods on credit will have to give us back our money. Yes, that is the credit period. So, but its debt administration has been poor. And the average collection period has been what? 45 days, with 0.5 of sales resulting in bad debts, which are written off. So a factor will take on the tax of debt administration and credit checking at an annual fee of what? 2.5% of credit sales. So it means the annual fee you have to pay the factor will be 2.5 of what? Of your credit sales. That is the cost of factor service now. The cost of factor service. The company will save 30,000 naira a year in administration cost. So the payment period will be it used to be 45. It used to be, yeah, it used to be 45. It used to be 45 because our actual period is supposed to be 30 days, but because of poor administration, it elapsed to 45 days. So with the coming in of the factor, it is expected that we meet up with our 30 days period. So the factor will also provide an advance of 80% of invoice debt at an interest rate of what? 14%. It means the factor will give Paul Crouch Limited 80% of the expected money from the customer, from the customers. Yes, they'll provide source of finance to Paul Crouch. Yes, to quickly invest and run their business as expected. Now, let's take note. At an interest rate of 40%, 3% over the current base. Now, if you are asked, what will be the current base? If 14% is 3% over the current base, what is the current base? The current base will
11%.
be 11%. Fine, 11%. So the company can obtain an overdraft facility to finance its debtors at a rate of what? 2.5% over base rate. Over base rate. So overdraft facility would be at what rate now? 11 plus 2.5, which would be what? 13.5. Take note of that statement so that when we start solving, we'll have less question. That is, the company can obtain an overdraft facility to finance its debtors at a rate of 2% over base rate. The base rate is what? Is what? 11%. How did we get 11%? From this statement here. From this statement that 80% of invoice debt at an interest rate of what? 14%. In brackets, anything in brackets is a pointer. 3% over the current base. It means the current base will be what? 14% minus 3%, you have 11%. Now, coming to this point, the company can obtain an overdraft facility to finance its debtors at a rate of 2% over base rate. The base rate is what? 11%. So, overdraft facility will be 11% plus 2.5. You have what? 13.5. So, should the factor service be accepted, assume a constant monthly turnover. So the point is this: we'll look at a situation where the factor is not involved. Then we'll now look at a situation where we now engage the factor. So that is the two scenarios. We'll now look at the benefit, the net cost of the factor. Is it profitable? Which is more better? Should we engage the factor or we shouldn't engage the factor? So we'll now see the solution now. So let's see what to do. Let's see what to do. Everybody should have the question. So solution. Solution. We have it as solution. So see, will I present this? Let's present it in this order. Let's present it in this order. So let me start by saying, let's say it is assumed, let me write, it is assumed, let's start this way. It is assumed that the factor would advance an amount equal to 80% yes, and the balance 30 days later. 30 days later. This is just an expression rephrasing what we have in the question. So A now, let's look at the point A. a situation where the current situation, where we don't have the factor, the current situation, the current situation, the current situation. So the current situation is as follows. What is our experience for now? The current situation is as follows. That is using the company's debt collection staff. That is, you're the one doing it yourself now before you engage the factor. Using the company's debt collection staff and what? And a bank overdraft. And a bank overdraft to finance all debts. In this case now, we've not engaged the service of a factor. So we want to see how is our performance. We'll now compare in a situation where we've engaged the service of a factor. Now, our current credit sales is what? From the question.
1.5.
Credit sales. We have 1.5. 1.5. Now, the average credit period for now is what?
30%, 30 days.
No, check it very well.
45.
45%. 45 days.
It was fixed at 30, but we're not meeting up with that 30. Hence, the need for us to engage a factor. So the credit period was 45 due to poor management. So average credit period we have it as 45 days. 45 days. Now, if the average credit period is 45 days now, what will be your collection within that 45 days? What will be our collection within that 45 days when we should engage ourselves, or if we should use the current situation, what will be our collection within the 45 days? The collection will be what? 45 divided by, if you are using days, the base will be what?
365.
365.
365. The debt is what? The debt value is what?
1.5.
1.5. The debt value is 1.5. The debt value is 1.5. Now, still in this current situation, we're getting bank overdraft. We're obtaining bank overdraft. At what rate are we getting our bank overdraft? At what rate? We're engaging the bank to give us overdraft. At what rate?
13.5.
13.5. I explained 13.5 earlier on. 13.5 is not in this question. But how do you get 13.5? You have to read between the lines. You have to read between the lines. The factor would also provide an advance of 18% of invoice debt at an interest rate of 14%. In bracket, this 14% is 3% over the current base. The company can obtain an overdraft facility to finance debtors at a rate of 2%.
2.5.
2.5.
Yes, a background is noisy. That is why I'm just trying to.
Over this rate.
If your background, if you are playing music there, you can just help us mute yourself so that yes. So the company can obtain an overdraft facility to finance the debtors at a rate of 2.5% over base rate. The base rate I explained, the base rate is what? 14% minus 3% is 11%.
11%.
So if this is 2.5 over the base rate, 2.5 plus,
Plus 11%.
you have
That's 30.5%.
30.5.
13.
So please, oh, please. 14 minus the other 13. You explained it before. I didn't get it. You explained it again. Now I didn't get it again.
Okay. Okay, this is the question, sir. The factor will also provide an advance of 80% of invoice debt at an interest rate of what? 14%. 14% in brackets, it is 3% over the current base. Now, if 14% is higher by 3% over the current base, what will be the current base?
11%.
It will be 14 minus
14
3,
minus 3. I got that one. Okay. 14 minus 3
11.
equals to-
Now, they are now saying that the company can obtain an overdraft facility to finance its debtors at a rate of what?
2.5 plus 11. 2.5
Yes,
plus 11.
yes, over base rate. So we have it. So within us now, based on our own management of our debt, how can we manage our debt? That is what we're trying to consider without engaging the factor. So we have 45 days in 365 in relation to 1.5. What would be the collection within that period? So, and also in relation to what will be the cost of financing, of getting the overdraft in relation to this value likewise is 13.5. I believe we have scientific calculator, because there will be a point as we go in our class tonight, we'll be seeing some formulas that required some serious computation. So if you don't have scientific, just as I am here, you need to have one. So when you do this now, when you compute this, what will be the results? What will be the results?
24,965.75.
29.
24. Okay.
24,000.
24,965.75.34.
So this is the cost. This is the cost we incur. Yes, we running it by ourselves. This is the cost. Now there's another cost. If you look at it, we running it ourselves. A factor will take on the risks of debt. Okay, not there. Now, but its debt administration has been poor, and the average collection period has been 45 days with 0.5% of sales, resulting in bad debt, which are written off. This is another issue. We are losing money in this regard likewise. So 0.5% of our credit sales will be what? Is a cost on us that is not good. We can manage better. We can manage better. So the bad debt. What is the bad debt?
0.5%.
0.5% of 1.5 is a burden on us. We are losing money. So what will be the result there?
75.
7.5. So
Seven-
when you try to collect the debt, to administer the debt yourself, the overall cost, You borrow
750.
It's 7.75.
75. 75.
50, is it not 50% of 1.5? It's 750,000.
Bad debt is 0.5% of
0.5.
1,500,000.
750,000.
0.5
That
is
is
50% now, not 0.05.
No, no, they said 0.5%, not 50% too.
Punch your calculator and see 0.5
750,000.
divided by 100.
Yeah, by 100.
Or be multiplied,
It's
not
seven
divided.
five.
10
Okay.
times 1.5.
All right.
Is that division or multiplication?
Is 0.5%, not 50%. So it says 0.5 divided by 100.
Yes,
It's,
I've
it's fine.
gotten it.
It's fine. I've seen that.
So when you add, the cost is what?
75.
32 plus 55.
When you
Yes.
add up everything, you
Okay.
have 32, 466.
32,466.
This is our current situation. This is the brouhaha we are facing as an organization. Now, we need somebody to save us from this. We engage a factor. What will be the effect of factor? When a factor comes in, what will be the impact of a factor? Are we going to save more costs, or we're going to incur more costs in relation to that? But we can determine that via a calculation. You understand? We can determine that via a calculation. They will now compare and see what will be the effect. So we can look at we can say the cost of a factor. 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 Now, looking at the question, commit himself to what? That a factor will take on the tax of debt administration and credit checking at an annual fee of what?
2.5%.
So this is what we will pay the factor, 2.5%. Cost of factor service, 2.5. 2.5% of our credit sales. Our credit sales is what? 1.5, right?
Yes.
2.5% of 1.5 is the cost of the service he's rendering to us.
Yes.
Yes. The company would save what? 30,000 a year in administration cost. It means if we should engage a factor, instead of we incurring 90,000 naira, we will incur 60,000 naira. So we are saving what? 30,000 a year in administration cost. So the payment period will be 30 days. 30 days. The factor will also provide an advance of what? 80% of invoice debt. That will help us with 80% of finance. So the remaining 20%, what will happen to it? What are we going to, how are we going to sort ourselves in relation to the remaining 20%?
We try to collect this.
We
You
can
said?
use
The overdraft.
Very good, very good. That is just it. That is just it. You use the overdraft. That is just what I want to get. You use the overdraft to balance it up. Yes, you use the overdraft. So the payment period will be 30 days. The factor will also provide an advance of 80% of invoice debt at an interest of what? 14%. Now, the question is, what is 80% of 1.5 that the factor is willing to provide finance. What is 80% of 1.5?
1.2.
Very good. 1.2. Now, the balance of 300,000 will now be in relation to what?
Overdraft.
Overdraft.
Overdrafts. So this is interesting. So the cost of factor, let me present this as 80% of credit sales would be financed by factor. And what is that value? 80% multiplied by what? 1.5 will give us what? 1.2. Will give us 1.2. Give us 1.2. Yeah, 1.2. So the remaining 20% will be what? Let's see. So 20% of credit sales by overdraft. So we'll have what here? Equal to what?
300,000.
20% multiplied by what? 1.5. You have it as what? 300,000. 300,000. So now, what will be the effect of your interest? The interest you pay the factor in relation to the finance they are giving you to the tune of 1.2 is what? Is 14%, right? The credit period in this new scenario is what? The payment period will be what? 30 days, right? So
Yes.
what will now be the cost now? What will be the cost? What will happen here? What will be the cost? Can anybody try? For the credit sales, let me put that average collection period.
That will be
Average co-
30 over 365 times 1, 2.
then would be 30 days. So now, what will be the cost on each of these? Let's see. Annual costs. In terms of factor finance will be what?
30 over 365 times
That's
1.2.
in terms of the cost of them giving you 1.2 is what? The cost of factor giving you 1.2 is what? See it,
14%.
Okay.
14%. So what will be the
Times
burden?
14.
So the result will be what?
13,808.
13,808. Now, in relation to this overdraft, what will be the effect?
It will now be
overdraft.
Not be 45 over 365.
No, we're using 30. This is looking at
Why are we
this
using 30 for overdraft?
this current situation is different from the previous situation. We're trying to see.
But okay.
This is it. Now, I haven't engaged the factor. Now. A factor will take the tax of debt administration and credit checking. Do you understand? So
Yeah.
the factor is a determinant of our collection period. The factor is a determinant of our collection period. So we are only running to the bank to get an overdraft. You understand?
Yes.
To help us finance our business. So in this other period, in this section 2 that we are trying to make comparison, the factor determines our collection period.
Okay.
So that is why we are working with 30
38.
over is an annual thing. So over 365 multiplied by what?
300,000.
300,000 in relation to what?
13.5.
13.5. Yes.
So the result will be what?
Yeah, 365. 8 plus 332.87.
332.87. 30 divided 365.
3,329.
8.76.
Approximately 9.
So now,
3,328.
which other costs are we going to incur as an organization when we engage factor? We talk about the cost of their service, right?
Yeah.
The cost of their service. Cost of factors. Cost of factor service. Cost of factor service. From the question, how much are they supposed to get? A factor will take on the tax of debt administration and credit checking at an annual fee of what? 2.5 of credit sales. 2.5 of credit sales. Cost of factor service. So we have it as what?
5 times 1.
2.5%.
That's
7,500.
Multiply by
7.
1.5. The results will be what? 37,500. Now, having engaged the factor, is there any benefit to us? Are we saving any money?
No.
We are not saving. Check it, man.
30,000. The company will save 30,000.
So the costs you will incur minus the money you will save will give you the net cost.
Okay.
30,000 a year. 30 divided by 12.
So let's say less savings. Less savings in companies less savings in companies administration. Less savings in companies administration. When you engage a factor, you will not incur this cost. So what you save minus the cost you will incur will give you the net cost of the factor. So it will now be a pointer. Should I engage the factor or not? So let's see, we'll compare this with our A. So net cost of the factor will be what?
24,637.
Net cost of the factor will be
24,637.
637. So now the point is this. The point is this. When we administer our debt collection ourselves, the cost involved is what?
32,466.
When we engage the service of the factor, the cost is what?
24,637.
26,637.
24,637.
It's 26,637, right?
24,637.
Okay, 24. Okay. 24,637. So the question now is, which is better?
Engaging the factor.
The factor.
So as a financial manager, what would be your recommendation to Paul Crouch Limited?
I will recommend
Advise them to use
approach
a
to
factor
use the factor
The services of the factor.
to be lower.
So these are what you should expect in relation to factor questions in these exams. So it might be looking like strange to some of us. This financial management, you will sit down and look at it very well. You know, it's a portion of SFM that was brought out. But to me, I think financial management is interesting. All these aspects they brought out, they are interesting parts that that you should embrace with joy. So in solving these questions, you must be very careful about your days. If the question is talking about days, take note. If the question is talking about months, take note, because they can mention 2 months. When you mention months, it means you are working with 12. When they mention days, you are working with what? 365 days.
Yeah.
So you must weeks 52. So in that regard, so you must learn how to play with those things. I did a presentation. I didn't forward the YouTube link. I was thinking I will come up to discuss those work example. Okay, I think I forwarded it. Those work examples on discounts. So I was thinking maybe I will come up to discuss that tonight, but I have to change my mind on that. Though I've talked about it in my YouTube, but maybe I'll still come and talk about it. I have more questions to add to that beyond what I've discussed there. I want us to discuss better here. So maybe I'll still come up with that. Yes. So I know so many people are quiet. It's looking strange. Something like that. For bad debt, I said is 0.5 over 100. So I punch it again. 0.5% is what? It's 0.005. 0.5.
Why did you use 100 to divide that 0.5%? Is it because I don't know. That's what I'm asking. I don't know.
This is not 5%, sir.
0.5% now.
Yes.
Why did you use 100? Why did you divide it over 100? The
1%,
question is.
1% is
The
what, sir?
question is. Hello.
Normally, if
Yes.
you're working with percentage, if they say 50%, how do you do it? So you say
Okay,
50 over 100 to get 0.5.
But I didn't see 50% in the question. Is it not 0.5? Yeah, I see it.
That's
That's
why
why.
with 0.5, you said over 100 again. That's why you get 0.05.
That's what I'm asking. Why 100 over 100 again?
It's in percentage.
Okay, yes. Hi. Thank you, Johanna. Thank you.
Peter Obi, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. All right. Yes, you can revisit this again. If you have any gray areas, you can reach out to me personally. If I'm free, I will attend to you very well. Yes, I'll attend to you once I'm free. Yes. So I'm just bringing this. There are more complicated issues that I will still bring forth, but I don't want to just come up with some things so that we'll not put our hand in our head and say, what is this? Yes. So let's take it gradually. Let's get used to this one first. Then we'll now present other ones. Yes. So based on the syllabus, we're about rounding up the part B. Yes, the part B of the syllabus. If you are following, I'm following everything the way it is in the syllabus. So I think by next week we should be in the part C of the syllabus, that is investment appraisal. So I think by this week we should be done with the part B. If you are not reading, please be reading FN. Read financial management. Don't be overwhelmed with performance management, please. Follow your timetable. Set a timetable for yourself, and make sure you balance your reading time. It is very important. It is very important. Yes. Some people can just give much attention to a course and then forget that there are other ones to read. So
I did that last year and I passed PM and failed PSAF. So you should not do like that too.
Because I was disturbing you too much.
Yeah, so
yeah, so let's try to have a timetable for yourself. No matter how I disturb you, don't get carried away by my disturbance. But yes, by my sending of questions, assignments, yes, just to make you be on your toes. That is why I'm doing that. Yes, because I must not teach you and you fail. Yes, it's not good. So my mission is for you to pass. So that is why I was doing that. So we'll be talking about cash management models. Cash management models. Now, when we talk about cash, what is cash? I know everybody like money now. What is cash? You don't like money.
Dollars, nairas, pounds.
oh,
Cash is what you have at hand.
Okay. So cash refers to money a business holds in the form of currency. It can be notes, it can be coins, it can be demand deposits, like a current account, cash equivalent, and the rest, things like that. So cash refers to money a business holds for its business. We have types of cash holdings. We have petty cash, we have cash in hand, we have cash at bank, we have cash equivalents, and the rest of it. So why do you hold money? What is the importance of cash as a business?
to meet needs
Transactional motive purpose.
for transactions, for investments, for speculative.
Speculative.
Precautionary.
Precautionary motive.
Yes.
Precaution. Speculative.
Yes. So the point is this: why do you need to manage cash?
So there will not be shortage.
In what regard?
In offsetting your bill.
Okay, in offsetting my bill.
So you will not hold excess cash.
So you
Instead
will
of
run it.
investing the cash and you're holding so much cash at hand.
Don't you think I need
That's-
to hold much cash in my hand?
You need to, but at least there should not be an idle cash. You should invest the
To
idle cash.
manage cash. Good to
Okay.
manage cash, so you strike a balance.
Okay. All right. Fine. Yes. Yes. So I'm just trying to make us see what we want to discuss. And in summary, cash management is you looking at how to strike a balance between liquidity and profitability. If you observe in every aspect of the working capital components we've discussed, receivable, payables, we've been looking at striking a balance, trying to strike a balance between liquidity and profitability. Yes. We've been trying to consider that to see how we can strike a balance between liquidity and profitability. So when we talk about these cash management models, is a model that helps organization determine the optimal cash balance. That is trying to balance liquidity. Liquidity, the essence of liquidity is to meet obligations, and also trying to balance profitability. And how do you balance profitability? Is by you investing your cash. That is you trying to minimize idle cash. Have less cash in your hands, but try to use more of the cash in investment opportunities. So based on my slide, I put that we have various reasons for holding cash, which we discussed last week, but in order to make up my notes, I just have to include it for others that will be reading in the future. So although cash needs to be invested to earn returns, business need to keep a certain amount readily available. The reasons include transactions motive, precautionary motive, investment motive, and failure to carry sufficient cash levels can lead to what? Loss of settlement discount. Maybe there is a need for you to quickly pay for goods and services, but you don't have the immediate cash. You might not enjoy certain discounts as a business person. Loss of suppliers' goodwill. When you don't have cash to offset your bill as at when due, your supplier will begin to lose trust in you, and in no time, you lose you will not be credit worthy on his own part. So these are some of the reasons why we need to hold cash. And poor industrial relations. When you don't pay your workers as at when due, they begin to carry placard. We no go gree. Story. So when you need to have cash to see that your business operation and administration work as expected, and potential liquidation. When you don't have cash to run your business, there can be reasons for dissolution, for winding up of a business due to issue of insolvency that may face your business. So these are some of the reasons why we need to hold cash, But there are reasons we need to hold cash, but as we've said, we shouldn't hold cash in excess. Shouldn't hold cash in excess. We should try to have a policy as an organization based on trend. What should be my minimal cash level? What should be my maximum cash level? Which one of the model we'll look at talked about that there should be a limit to what you hold in form of cash. Once you have excess cash, you quickly return it back in form of investment. Once your cash is going low, you should quickly sell your investment and get cash. Yes. So one of the model talks about that, which we are going to consider. Now, this is a balancing act, cash balancing act. So it's a balancing act between liquidity and profitability. So in cash management, there is a constant trade-off, that is opportunity cost, between liquidity and profitability. So liquidity, we've said over time, is you having enough cash to meet short-term obligations, such as paying of your bills, salaries, and your suppliers, and so on. But the point is this: too much liquidity results in safety of your business, but it means idle cash that earns little or no return. Yes, that is liquidity. When you have too much, you'll be keeping the money idle without any return on those cash. So there should be a balance between what you keep as cash in your business and what you invest. So in terms of profitability, this entails business organization investing excess cash to earn returns. And how do you invest this excess cash? You put them in marketable securities, you can put them in short-term deposits, and so on and so forth. So because too much focus on profitability again is a problem. When you focus too much on profitability, it can result in cash shortage risk. Yes, you running out of cash. So there must be a balance between your objective of liquidity and your concept of profitability as an organization. So you must strike a balance that every month we should have a cash ceiling of to the tune of so amount. Yes, and once we are going below a certain level, we should quickly call for cash. When we are keeping cash beyond certain level, we should quickly invest our cash. So it is very important for business to effectively have a proper cash management policy. So keep enough cash to stay operational and avoid disruptions, but also minimize idle cash by investing it to earn profit. That is profitability for you. So the point is this: there must be a balance. Somebody will ask me, how do we strike a balance? Every organization should have a
I beg
policy,
you don't do.
regarding that, in terms of striking a balance between liquidity and profitability. So we have cash budget and cash flow forecast. Cash budget and cash flow forecast. Yes. Somebody will say, why is cash budget and cash flow coming here again? Cannot run away from it as far as financial management is concerned. So let me ask, what is cash budget? What is cash flow? Yes, what is cash budget and what is cash flow? Anybody? Yes, 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 yes. Can we speak to that? When you talk about cash budgets, when you talk about cash flow,
Cash budget is a plan of the inflows, cash inflows and outflows for a period of time. And why cash flow is how the cash is coming in and out.
okay,
Cash budget is just a plan of how it will come.
okay. Then the cash flow.
Cash flow
All right, thank you. So cash budget, as you've said, is a detailed plan showing what expected cash inflow and outflow over a period. It can be monthly, it can be quarterly, and so on and so forth. So why the the cash flow forecast. If you see, I say cash flow forecast. Forecast is a prediction of future cash position. Yes, that is based on estimated receipts or income and expenses. So cash flow, you predict in terms of forecast. Now you predict, but the budget is based on certain uncertainty. Yes, on certain factor that has been in existence. Yes, the cash budget is a plan based on what is happening at that point in time. Now, the cash flow forecast is based on uncertainty, predictions that things might likely change in future. That is a cash flow forecast. Cash flow forecast. So I said the cash forecast is an estimate of cash receipts and payment for a future period under existing conditions. And a cash budget is a commitment to a plan for cash receipts and payment for a future period after taking any action necessary to bring the forecast into line with the overall business plan. So the cash budget is a commitment after considering every factors that we need to look into. Yes, once we make our plan based on these factors, can we achieve our plan? Even while we make our plan, some other factors can set in even as we try to execute our plan, and which will result into variance. So cash budgets are used to assess and integrate operating budget. Yes. And also cash budgets are used for plan for cash shortages and surpluses and to compare actual spending. So cash budgets can be used in diverse ways. It can be used to integrate operating budget. What are those operating budgets? Those functional budgets we talk about in performance management. Your sales, your purchase, your overheads. Cash budgets can be used to bring all those things together because they all involve spending. They involve spending. So cash budget can be used for such purposes. And when you have a cash budget, you can actually use your cash budget to compare with your actual results. Have you spent more or you spent less? And that is why we often talk about variance in performance management. So I haven't talked about that. There are steps we must take to prepare the cash flow forecast for receipts and payments. There are steps we must take to prepare the cash flow forecast. Step one is for us to prepare these formats, these formats. Now, it can be in months, it can be in year. Yes, it can be monthly, it can be yearly. So in this case, we have month 1, month 2, month 3. So to prepare your cash flow, you have your receipts and you have your payments, otherwise known as cash inflow and cash outflow. So if you look at this format now, this receipt can otherwise be termed as what? Cash inflow. And what are those things that can make up your cash inflow? Your sales, your receivables within those periods, other income in form of cash can form your receipts. That is your cash inflow. Now, this is a format. You are expected to add your various cash inflow. If the question is based on months or year, you add your various cash inflow to have your total cash inflow. In this regard, it is termed as subtotal. It's put as subtotal. Now, having done that, you have your payments. Your payments. Most times you have many entries in your payments. You can see in receipts, it can just be few lines. If you observe the question we solved yesterday, in performance management, just few entries regarding inflow, but payments, expenses, quite a number of expenses. You can have your
In this class.
yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So you can have quite a number of payments such as overhead, salaries, rent, and the rest. So once you have all those expenses, then you total them. You have your subtotal, which can be your total cash outflow. The difference between your inflow and outflow will give you what? Your net cash flow. Your net cash flow. Now, in the question, you always be given something in form of opening balance. If you observe the question we solved yesterday, we had opening balance from 211 to 212. So your opening balance, in addition to your net cash flow, will give you your closing balance for the first year or for the first month, depending on how the question. So your closing balance for the first month will be your opening balance for the next month. So in that regard, you add your opening balance to your net cash flow of the next period, you have a closing balance. The closing balance will be your opening balance in the next period in that order. In that order. So there are certain things we must note. Some of these figures will not be given to you free of charge. There will be workings. There will be expected computation that you need to do. Now, we said some payments need only a small amount of work to identify the correct figure and timing, and can be entered straight into the format or pro forma, yes, into the sheet. So these will usually include, if you observe yesterday's question in performance management, wages was given monthly. All we need to do to get it in years was to multiply the value in months by 12 to get the annual value. So wages and salaries, fixed overhead, dividend payments, purchase of non-current assets can just be given with ease, without any stress for you to work on. But there are certain things you must work. The step 3, work out the more complex figures. The information on sales and purchase can be more time consuming to deal with, e.g., timings for both sales and purchases must be found from credit periods. You can see this was typically illustrated yesterday in a question we solved in the other class. So for you to get your sales, your cash sales, your credit sales, your inflow in terms of receivables that becomes cash within a period, there are various workings that you must do, you must solve for. So information about production level, purchase figures may require calculation. This is very true. Yes, production levels, purchase figure, all those functional budget issues. When we're solving questions on mega laboratory in PM, you can see all those little workings that we need to work for us to actually get most of the figures that we need for our cash budget. So this is telling you that things like purchases, sales, receivables, payables, you need to shine your eyes very well to know what the sentence in the question is saying about it, for you to be able to appropriate as expected, yes, in the format that you need to present. So all these are what we must look into. And there's a question similar to one we solved yesterday in financial management too. Still similar to what we solved yesterday in financial management that I will also want us to solve in this class. Though those that were in the PM class might see it as a bonus, something to them, but it's also very important. It's a thing that can be tested in performance management. Now, there are two models that we need to consider, two cash management models that we need to consider, the Baumol Model and the Miller-Orr Model. They are models that we are expected to look into as far as this course is concerned. Now, when we talk about the Baumol model, what we are talking about is a model that looks into how we use our cash. Is it at a constant rate? This model is related to the economic order quantity. So this model assumes that a company operates in a steady state environment. The model, it assumes that the company operates in an environment where all things are equal. There is no variability. So it operates on the fact that you can perfectly predict an outcome. It does not consider uncertainty in its operation. That is a Baumol cash model. So this model indicates the optimum amount of cash that a company should hold. And it is based on the idea that deciding optimum cash balance is similar and buffer cash is held in short-term investment. We looked at some assumptions while we're talking about the economic order quantity in this regard likewise. So this model, we have a formula which is similar to what we use in the economic order quantity. And the formula is this. That is, the formula calculates the amount of funds to inject into the current account or to transfer into short-term investment at one time. So the formula is Q equal to the roots. Into the roots, we have 2. Then we have the transaction cost, which is represented by CO. Then we have D, which is demand for cash over the period, divide by CH, which is what? Cost of holding cash. Cost of holding cash. Let me represent this in another way. This CO, in another form, it can be fixed cost of obtaining new cash. Let me write it, because in the question, you might not see transaction costs in this order. They can use another synonym. It can be fixed cost of obtaining new fund. And put it that way, new fund. And the CH can be in another form. It can be interest cost. It can be interest cost of holding cash. And it can be in another way opportunity cost. It can be opportunity cost in another way. So you can be given a question in this regard. For example, we have this example here. we have this example that Noble has a fixed cost. Noble has a fixed cost of 500 naira to obtain a new fund. There is annual requirements of 1,040,000 with interest forgone of 7% per annum. What is the optimum level of cash for Noble? For Noble. So based on the formula we presented, is a very direct treatment. Well, the question I'll ask is this: our D will be what? Let me bring the formula here.
Our D is 1 million.
The D is what?
1,040,000.
This demand.
D is 1,040,000. Now, the CO is what?
The fixed cost 500 naira.
500 naira. 500 naira. And the CH is what?
The holding cost.
7%.
7%.
7%, which is same as 0.07. So when you do your computation, the result will be what? What will be the optimum level of cash for Noble?
2 times 500.
2.2 million. 22 million.
21 889.88. 121 889.88.
89.
It's 500.
121 890. So what is the interpretation of this? Who can try? What will be the interpretation of this? Based on the question. Based on the question. You know, it's not just for you to know the formula. You must be able to interpret. You're a financial manager.
This is the highest money that's cash that Noble can handle.
Okay.
Level of cash for Noble. That's the highest he can have at a time.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Let me say this, the optimum. Let me put it, the optimum. The optimum level of cash. The optimum level of cash is what? Is 121,890. I will say thus Noble should what? Should replenish its cash balance. Its cash balance when it reaches 0. When it's at 0. When it reaches 0. So the maximum you said is what? The best point it should get to is what? When it reaches 0 to maximum of what?
121,890.
So maximum amount of what? 121,890. It means once you have cash, in your hand, and from 121 it has gotten to 0, you should quickly order. The essence of what this cash management is, as an organization, at what will be your ceiling, the limit you should have cash? What should be the highest cash you should hold? Once you are having too much money in your hand, go and invest. Once you are having less money in your hands, try and get money to meet up with your optimum level of cash that you should be holding as an organization. So this is a formula presented by Baumol. Yes, by Baumol Model. That is his own concept about cash management. So his own concept is that the optimum level of cash is the ideal amount of cash a business should hold to meet its day-to-day obligation. So in order to avoid excess idle funds. So that is his own concept, and he presented this formula. So I have an assignment for you. This is an assignment. Some of you have not been solving questions on financial management. Assignments. You go and play with this one. That a company generates $10,000 per month excess cash, which it intends to invest in short-term securities. The interest rates it can expect to earn on its investment is 5% per annum. The transaction cost associated with cash separate investment of funds is constant at $50 required. What is the optimum amount of cash to be invested in each transaction? How many transactions will arise each year? What is the cost of making the transactions per annum? What is the opportunity cost of holding the cash per annum? Somebody will say, but he has not treated all this. Yes, I'm pushing you to read. That is why I'm bringing it here. So you can solve it. It's not it's related to what we've done. So just settle down, read it, analyze it, bring out the variables, and you'll be fine. So I'll be expecting solution to it. So we have this other model, Miller-Orr cash management model. Miller-Orr cash management model. This model is an attempt to produce a more realistic view of how to manage cash. Because to be sincere, you cannot actually have everything to be constant. You cannot actually predict how things will go. Yes, the Baumol model is not realistic to a reasonable extent. It's not realistic because you cannot tell me that everything will be constant over time. Yes, so Miller-Orr model produce a more realistic approach to cash management, because if there is no attempt to manage cash balances, the cash balance will fluctuate upward and downward. So Miller-Orr model, one distinct issue about this model is that it imposes a limit to the fluctuations in cash. So if the cash balances reaches a particular upper limit, I will show you a diagram now. If it reaches a particular upper limit, the company will need to buy what? Security. It means that upper limit means that the company is having too much cash. So what will you do with that cash? Invest it. So the company will buy sufficient securities to return the cash balance to a normal level. There will be a normal level. That normal level is often called return point. When you are having too much cash, you buy securities to reduce the cash, to return to the normal level. When you have less cash, you buy securities to return to the normal level that you are expected to be. So when the cash balance reaches a lower limit, the company will sell securities to bring the balance to the return point. That is the normal point. That is the normal point. Now let's see what okay, from the slide I put that the Miller-Orr model controls irregular movement of cash by the setting of upper and lower control limits on cash balances. The Miller-Orr model is used for setting the target cash balance. It has the advantage over the Baumol model in incorporating uncertainty in the cash inflows and outflows. So the diagram below shows how the model works over time. The model sets a higher and lower control limit, that is H and L respectively, and a target cash balance, that is point Z, which is the return point. So when the cash balance reaches H, that is the maximum level, what happened?
We invest.
Yes, we invest. Dollar are transferred from cash to marketable security. That is, the firm buys what? The firm buys dollar rather. Sorry, because I'm using dollar to explain. The firms buy dollar securities. Similarly, when the cash balance hits L, L is what? The minimum level. Dollar are transferred from marketable securities to what?
To cash.
So you can see it. This is a diagram showing and depicting how the Miller-Orr model works. That at this level, in the minimum level, what happens? You need to sell. You need to sell to return to this point. Now, when it reaches this point, the maximum level, what do you need to do? You need to
Invest.
invest also, to invest. So when it is at this point, the minimum, you need to quickly get. So you return to point Z. This point Z is often set by the organization. You set it. You set the limit. Yes, you set the limit that this is how the point I want to always be. I want to always be. Once I have money above Z, it shows I'm holding too much cash. I should invest. Once I have less than Z, it shows I'm not having much money to run my business. I should quickly sell securities to get money. Yes. So the point is this. The lower limit is set by management depending upon how much risk of a cash shortfall the firm is willing to accept. And this in turn depends both on access to borrowings and on the consequences of a cash shortfall. Now, the formula in the ACC exams is often given in the question paper. And I think ICANN will also follow suit to give the formula. If you check your PM, even your tax, the tax rate is given in most of those exams. The depreciation rate of your assets, yes, it's given in the question paper. So some of even in SFN, most of our formulas we use for work, gearing, they are given to us in the question paper. But sometimes we study not to even think about the fact that they are in the question paper. We study to make it be part of us. Yes. So I don't often remember if there's a formula behind my question paper. So just know the formula. That is the point. So it will help you to solve with ease. So the formula is given here. Is given for the Miller-Orr model. We have the return point. What is the return point? How do you get your return point? It will be your lower limit. This lower limit will always be given in the question. It will be your lower limit plus what? 1 plus R multiplied by what? Spread. 1 plus lower limits will be, or the return point will be lower limits plus 1 plus 1 over 3 multiplied by what? Spread.
Spread.
What is spread? What is spread? So, what is spread? Yes, Madam Vicky, you made mention, you explained the other day in this class.
Okay. The difference between the lower limits and the higher limits.
Yes, very fine. Yes, but there is something in terms of security. Yes, in this regard, you are very correct, Praise. Yes, spread is
It's like
different.
interest or profit.
You said?
It's like the interest.
Okay. Okay. Yes, it is. Yes. So in cash management, the spread refers to the range between the lower limit and the upper limit of a firm's cash balance. So, as you have said, spread is the difference between the lower limit and the upper limit. The upper limit. So, the formula is what? This is the formula. Please, you can write it out. It is like this. So when we are solving, don't be asking where we get 3 from. Spread is equal to what? 3 multiplied by what? 3 over 4 multiplied by what? Transaction costs multiplied by what? Variance of cash flow. Variance of cash flow divided by what? Interest rate to the power of what? To the power of 1 over 3. So you must know how to punch your calculator. If you don't know how to punch your calculator and you don't know how to follow the rule of BODMAS, you will not be getting the right results. So you must know how to follow the rule of BODMAS. Everything in brackets, you solve first. After that, if there is off, you follow. If there is division, you follow. If there is multiplication, you follow. Addition, subtraction, in that order. So you don't just punch your calculator and think you will get results. That is how, because we do most of these things in SFM. Sometimes some people will try to get whack and they will not punch the calculator as appropriate by not following the mathematical rule, and they will be getting the wrong results. So this is the formula. It is 3 multiplied by what? Open bracket 3 over 4 multiplied by transaction cost multiplied by variance of cash flows divide by interest rates. This divide, you can bring it under the whole. Yes. If you look at this formula, you have 2 brackets, right? You can see is it parenthesis now? 1, it's outside. There is 1 inside, right? 3 over 4 multiplied by transaction cost multiplied by variance of cash flow is 1 bracket, isn't it? Divide by what? The interest rate. Then in parentheses, to the power of everything. After you divide, you now do to the power of 1 over 3. 1 over 3. So this is how to get your spread. This is how to get your spread in relation to the Miller-Orr model. This is how to get your spread in relation to Miller-Orr model. I think there is an example we need to solve now. Let's see. Where's the example? Okay, I didn't put it down. Let me come up with one now. Let's see. Okay, let's put down this question. Let's see. Let's put down this question. Let's say a company has decided company has decided it needs a minimum balance. It needs a minimum balance of, let me use dollars. I like money very well. $10,000. $10,000. So the transaction costs. Let me say transaction costs. Yes. In brackets, let's have it that of making transaction costs of making transfers to and from deposits is what? Is $5 per transaction. $5 per transaction. The standard deviation. They are now bringing deviation again. Somebody will say, what is this? The standard deviation of cash flows. The standard deviation of cash flow is let's say $20,000. No, let me make it let's make it 2,000. Cash flow is 2,000 per day. And the interest rate is 5.11% per annum. Always take note, interest will always be per annum. So there are some questions as we go ahead in our studies. Some questions might want you to determine the interest for months. So let's take note. Interest is always or we can have it this way. 5.11 can have it in relation to 365. As I've said, it's always related to a year, which is interest can be 0.14 per day. Yes, can be 0.14% per day. The question now is this: what should be the upper? What should be the upper and lower limits? What should be the upper and lower limits? And the return points.
Oh, God.
Can we solve? Somebody is still writing the question. So this is it. From the question, your transaction cost is what?
5 naira per transaction.
5 naira.
Transaction cost is what? $5.
$5 per transaction.
Oh,
Very good. What is your variance of cash flow?
2,000 per day. The standard
2,000.
deviation of cash flow is 2,000 per day.
$2,000 per day.
So is that the variance?
No.
This is where your residual knowledge comes in now. The square root of standard deviation is what?
Is
Variance.
the variance, yeah.
The square root of standard deviation is variance. You understand? That is why they will set question. So they will not put variance directly. They expect you to know. They expect you to know.
44.721.
The variance of cash flow?
Yes. 2,000. The square root of 2,000.
Yes. She give us what?
44.721.
44.72.
Wow, what an error. What an error, please. The square of standard deviation. The square of standard deviation is variance. Square.
When you have a variance, you do a square root to get standard standard deviation. So with standard deviation, we'll not do the square, Abby. Sorry.
Yes. The square. You know,
That's
square is
4
different.
million.
Yes.
4 million.
Is 4 million.
4 million. 4 million. The interest rate is what?
The interest rate is 5.11 per annum.
Per annum. 5.11 per annum. So the question, what is the question saying? Is it per day? Are we working per day?
I'm lost.
They didn't say, okay. Yes, per day. Because they said standard deviation of cash flows is 2,000 per day.
Per day.
So
per annum. Okay. Per day.
They said per day. Then they now gave us the rate, interest rate per annum. So we have to bring it back to per day.
they've helped you. See it here. They've helped you.
0.014%.
0.014% per day.
So the interest rate here will now be what? But somebody must be very careful here now. What is okay? No, I think they've solved it for us. 0.014% is what?
0.014 divided by 100.
Yes, the result will be what?
0.014 divided by 100.
The calculator is giving 1.4.
That's 0.00000 by 10.
Yes.
It will show in standard
in 4
form.
places.
You must know your standard form.
It's going to be 0.000.14.
14.
So now, if you want to now simplify everything, you need mathematics knowledge now to do all this. So the bracket, solve this bracket first. Everything here first.
Hello, sir.
Yes?
I don't understand how we got that formula.
I will go on now.
The 4 million.
The formula?
4 million.
4 million.
Okay. 4 million.
Yes.
In statistics, when you are giving standard deviation, to get your variance, you square your standard deviation. You know the formula is what? The formula is what? Okay, I've erased it. Let's go back to the formula. This is it. Variance of cash flow.
Yes.
Variance. So now, in the question, they are telling you standard deviation is what? 2,000. So you are expected to convert your standard deviation to what? To variance. And how do you convert it? Since your standard deviation is 2,000, the square of standard deviation will be what?
4 million.
Which will be your variance.
Okay.
I know it's not only you that is lost. Some people are not talking, but they are lost.
The likes of Afiniki.
So when you simplify this, what will happen? What will be your results? Your spread will be what? It's mathematics.
6,850. 6,850.067.
Is this just for the bracket?
No, for everything.
Wow.
And Takwa, can we do that 1/3? Can we use 0.3?
The one in the bracket, this first bracket is 15 million.
Yes, to the power of 0.333. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
This bracket, Mr. Topper, is 15 million. 3
15
over 4
million.
multiplied by 5 times 4 million is $15 million.
Yeah. So 3 multiplied
15
by
million. Yeah.
$15 million.
Divide by 0.00.
then divide by 0.
0.0.
0.004. That's 1.0714.
To the power of 1/3. Here you have what?
6,850.067.
Everything?
Yes, everything.
Everything I'm getting 14,236.65.
Yes, that is the result I'm expecting. 14 what?
14,236.656.
236.656. That is the result I'm expecting. Yes. Yes. And I'm scared with the other result Madam Vicky is calling. So that is why I was just looking to know what is happening. So this is your spread. This is your spread.
Papa, please explain this spread. Relate it, I don't know. As much as you calculate it now, relate it to a business.
Now, talking about the spread. Talking about the spread now. This spread is a point whereby you have, when you go beyond your limits, now, for example, let's assume a business is experiencing a lower result. Okay, let me go back to the question. Let's assume now this minimum balance of a business. The minimum balance of this business is what?
Minimum balance is 10,000 USD.
Is 10,000. Now, 10,000 USD is the minimum balance. What amount of money will the business add to this minimum that will make it attain its maximum?
Hmm.
The difference between the spread, the difference
And the minimum.
Yes, between your upper limit and your lower limit is your spread.
Okay.
So it can be in this form. Let me show you this. It can be in this form. For example, now, if we go ahead to solve this question, if we go ahead, if we want to get our upper limit, what are we going to do?
You add this spread to the lower limit.
Fine. You add the spread to the lower limit. So it shows that the excess you have will be spread. Yes. And for you, so
is there a situation like a question that they will give and say, okay, they will give us the maximum limit and ask us to get the minimum limit?
yes, can be very possible. Where you in a question where you have the upper limit and you have a spread given to you, it means you have to look for the subject of the formula and get the lower limit. So it's very possible. It's very possible that they give you a question in that regard. So the spread, it shows you the gap where you are to buy and where you are to sell security. That's the difference between you having excess cash and having lower cash. You understand the difference? At the point
Where we
where
can say, sorry, you can say the spread is the maximum minus the minimum.
very fine, very
So
fine.
using the like what Chidima has asked, we'll just do subject of the formula to get for that's if you are given the spread and the maximum, the minimum, you can use it to get the maximum.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
So the point is this, this is spread. This is the spread, right?
Yes.
If you want to get your return point, what will you do?
That's lower limit plus 1/3 times the spread.
That will be your return point. So let's just show this. Let's show this.
So you also explain the return point in a layman way. Let's understand what it is in business.
The return point is when you have excess money. When you have excess money, that minimum you set, that optimum level you set, you have to come back there. You sell your money. You use your money to buy security, isn't it?
Yes.
And come back to the return point. You understand? That's
when you have excess cash, you use the excess of it to invest, then you return back to where it was before. That's
yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is the point you have to be. You understand? And when you have lower money, less cash, you have to do what? You have to sell your securities to get money to come back to the return point.
That's that one that you said is set by the company as their base.
Yes, as their base. That is the point you should always be. So when you discover you are holding too much money, what will you do?
Too much money. You invest.
Fine, to return to the
base.
To the
The
base.
return point.
When you have less money, what will you do?
You liquidate
Sell some securities, some investment.
Very well. So that is it. So now, from this now, your upper limit will be what?
Your upper limit will be 14,236.656 plus 10,000 USD, which is going to give us 24,236.656.
Yes. Sorry, let me use these points for the upper limits. Upper limits. It's tiny. Sorry, let me prevent it. So upper limits will be what? Will be lower limits. Will be lower limits plus what? Plus spread. Lower limit plus spread. So we have it as what? Equal to what? 10,000 plus what?
14,236.
14,236.
0.656. 0.7.
Okay, let me just maintain this. Then the result will be what?
24,236.
24,236.
Point
What?
656.
656. So that will be the upper limit. So the return point will be what?
The return
The lower limit is 10,000. Lower limit is 10,000 plus what? Into the bracket.
point to be equals to lower limit. That's
Into the
10,000.
bracket of 1/3 multiplied by what? The spread, which is 14,236.656. So the result will be what?
That's
14,745.55.
745.552.
0.55.
So
552. So this is the spread, the upper limit, the return point.